Sup guys, Spacey here, and today I'm going to be reacting to Pac Man Museum Plus and giving my little thoughts and analysis on this thing. Now, I have already done my reactions, but those first reactions were at school, so I can't really be shocked by the trailer, so I think I'm just give my overall thoughts on it and, well, give some, criticisms and opinions on it as well, so yeah. This is probably also going to be my video for November since I already have a script planned for a game review, but that's probably not going to come out till January. And I also have another video coming out December, but alas, I guess this month's not going to have any video, so let's just get going with the current video. So yeah, I've been known as a Pac-Man guy for quite a while, and with the new announcement of an actual console game, I've been wanting to react to it and give my thoughts, so let's start reacting to this and giving my thoughts. Yeah, I kind of like this new logo here. I very much like how they decided to curve the Pac-Man logo. Looks a lot sleeker and more unique. And I definitely think this logo looks better than the previous one, which was just a bit generic, honestly.
Pac-Man Museum Plus includes 14 titles in the legendary...
14 titles is pretty impressive lineup from what I know of. So yeah, this is actually pretty good. But let's just see what the games are now, pretty much react.
Series. Play a variety of classic and nostalgic Pac-Man games. Start the game in the...
So yeah, I'm gonna talk more about the arcade later, but it looks so cool. And, oh look, arcade machine, I can actually have him in the game, haha.
Arcade! Eat all the Pac...
Okay, I do kind of like the marquees here. These are actually pretty accurate to the original games. This one be more based on the US incarnation of, like, the Pac-Man arcade machine.
Shots while escaping from ghosts in Pac-Man. Become the invincible Super Pac...
I don't know if Super Pac-Man has some kind of marquee, but this does look good.
Man, and eat up all of the fruit in Super Pac-Man. Watch out, Mill is taking your...
I kind of like how they gave Pac-Pal its own English translation for this, because this game was supposed to come out as Pac-Man Chomp Chomp, but they didn't do it, obviously, but they just have been re-releasing Pac-Pal for the last few years, and I'm like, yeah, I think it's a fine game, but not the best. It would be cool if they managed to get the Pac-Man Chomp Chomp version, but alas, I don't even know if Namco even knows of that version, but let's just continue on. Oh yeah, I also love the English dialogue here.
Fruit in Pac-in-Pal. A grand adventure.
Yes. Pac-Land. Now that's pretty good as well. I like this game, and it was generally kind of fun. I also think that the addition of all the tail cards and stuff is pretty nice, like I said before.
To send a lost fairy back to Fairyland in Pac-Land. Jump to dodge the ghosts.
Pac-Mania. This is also really good. I hope they allow, like, region switching, because one of the big things I'm not exactly a big fan of in modern compilations is that they skipped, like, a couple of the levels, so thus it kind of ends up feeling kind of short. I hope they manage to, like, allow ROM switching so we can have, like, both the US and Japanese layout, but who knows if that's going to be coming.
And run through the three-dimensional maze.
Also, they include all the ghosts except for, like, the green one. Also, Funky's dark blue for some reason.
In Pac-Mania, the first puzzle game in the Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, Pac-Attack. That's also pretty, that's pretty good. I hope they bring the Genesis version of this game, since I believe that's a superior version of the game, just because of the better puzzle mode. They've been re-releasing the Genesis version of this game quite a lot. I hope they actually, like, do it. And also, since they're, as later on saying they're running Dolphin, that they could possibly use the Namco Museum 6th Gen version, or the old version that was the Namco Museum Anthology 2, because I think that'd be a pretty good option alongside this Genesis ROM.
And series, Pac-Attack.
Also, I heard this game's having online, which would really benefit this game, since this game's multiplayer is pretty underutilized, honestly.
Help Pac-Man get back.
Yo, Pac-in-Time SNES, yo. I know this is a pretty unpopular opinion in the fan base, but I love Pac-in-Time SNES. It's a pretty good prequel to Pac-Man World, and I actually did enjoy the game a lot. I'm pretty excited to have this here.
Back home by using items and skills to reach the door in time in Pac-in-Time.
Oh, this one was the most excited I got because Pac-Man Arrangement 2 1996 was basically only limited to 6th-gen consoles for the longest time. Now that we have an actually arcade-accurate version of this, I'm pretty effing excited to play it. And with online, oh boy, this is going to be hype-inducing since Pac-Man Arrangement 1996's multiplayer is so fun.
With a friend in this arrangement of the Pac-Man series, Pac-Man Arrangement Arcade Version. A variety of...
I'm very shocked that this game got so much re-releases since Pac-Man Arrangement console version, as they call it, is really kind of average. I do like some of the gimmicks and the mazes are actually pretty well designed, but overall it's not that great of a game, but yeah, I just think it's pretty decent.
Gimmicks will appear.
I also hope they bring in Pac-Man Arrangement Plus into the mix here, because there was a Plus version that was only released in Japan, but since that featured Miss Pac-Man, I believe, I think they're not gonna include it. But alas, maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, who knows. I'm going to probably talk about titles they're missing in a little bit, but that's another thing I've just observed about this.
Here, in the Pac-Man Arrangement console version. Play Time Attack to compete.
Yeah, Pac-Man Championship Edition. This is pretty much a great game, and I'm pretty happy they included this here. It was in the original museum, and it was pretty fun there, but it was kind of underutilized in my opinion, and kind of stuck out in the collection. Now I think it blends in perfectly fine, and hopefully it can actually be pretty fun as well. I mean, I just think that this game stood out a little bit in Pac-Man Museum because it was probably the only game that didn't have borders, and it was treated as some sort of separate game. But here, since it's a part of a few separate games, I think another game in the collection later on is going to also have full screen, so it blends in a lot more. So yeah.
Beat for the high score with overwhelming speed in Pac-Man Championship Edition. Knock the end.
Pac-Motos was a very strange inclusion in my opinion because it's very strange that they included a Namco Museum game. I wonder how this will be handled at all because Namco Museum Mega Mix had its own unique games, and it was essentially Namco Museum with a bunch of mini games. So I wonder how they'll handle importing their own mini games. Do they use Dolphin and put the Mega Mix ROM in there, or do they use Pac-Motos, or is this a direct port of Pac-Motos? Whatever it is.
Enemies
It's a 4x3, so at least we know that.
off the stage. Up to 4 players can play in Pac-Motos. Roll, Pac-Man.
Now, Pac-and-Roll is not my favorite game of the bunch, but I do think the remix version actually controls a lot better. Shame it's missing all the content, or otherwise I'd consider it one of the best Pac-Man games, otherwise if it actually did include all the content. Makes me wonder if this is just a direct Megamix rip, or if this is actually an original thing, an original port.
Collect the Pac Dots and aim for the goal in Pac-and-Roll Remix. Up to 4 players.
Oh, this one is also really good. I'm so glad they managed to put this in full widescreen instead of having a weird border around it, because it was always kind of odd to have that. And this game and Battle Royale suffered in the original museum for basically having no multiplayer options. Now that we have online in this game, well, let's just say that this game will become 100 times more fun. Really fun.
Can play who is the strongest Pac-Man in Pac-Man Battle Royale. Keep running.
See, this was that other game that was in full screen, its own original game that I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Championship Edition. It's Pac-Man 256, and this is I'm not as excited as the other ones because this game is already available on Steam and other platforms. In fact, I own the Steam version of this game, but alas, I think it's exciting that this finally, because this version fixes one of the biggest problems I have with the original console release of 256, and that there was no online multiplayer, so multiplayer was pretty limited. So now I can actually play multiplayer. And I want to get some mutuals of mine who played Pac-Man 256 to do the multiplayer, and it would be fun to do. Hella fun. One question about this, though, is are we able to transfer the data from the normal 256 to this 256? Because one thing I don't like about 256 in general is the fact that you have to, like, grind the unlocks. It's like, it's way too grindy for my taste, and I wish there was, like, an easier way to unlock them, because it's kind of annoying just not... I mean, I get unlocking power-ups, but some of the power-ups took a very long time, and it just felt a bit too grindy in my taste. But alas, that's actually pretty good.
And avoiding the ghosts. Up to 4 players can join in Pac-Man 256. The more you play, the more missions you'll
Yes, we have tokens.
unlock. And
These missions look pretty fun to do. I think they add some nice variety to the mix. I also think that these missions look a lot more reasonable than, like, museums, which were kind of strict, honestly. They were, and their unlocks were generally kind of poor, but now that we have, like, a currency that allows us to, like, unlock new things and choose what we could buy, this is pretty customizable.
the more coins you earn. You can use your coins to play arcade games.
Oh, yeah, they probably, oh, yeah, like, I heard someone saying that they were, like, worried about the, like, if they were being forced to use the tokens to play the games,
And the
but...
more coins you earn. You can use your coins.
But it seems like we'll be able to, like, get multiple cabinets. So, like, we have, like, all these cabinets we could purchase. So, we got 3 Pac-Man cabinets, a few Pac-Man Battle Royale cabinets. And it's kind of interesting that they allow us to have all these cabinets of all these varieties. So, yeah, it's interesting to have, like, multiple styles of them.
Arcade games, or you can spend them to customize your arcade.
And arcade customization. This is incredible. I would love to customize this in order to feel like my own. It's really excellently special. I also wonder what the drink containers, the gachapons, and the jukebox will do, because I think maybe they might have, like, a sound test or something for the jukebox. I know that, but the other ones might have their own special features. I think decorations are just decorations, though. But yeah, I wonder what that free game slot's all about, because some of these games, because I thought that it was the Championship Edition's arcade first, but now I just noticed that image includes Pac-in-Time, so what will these free machines be about compared to the other machines? And I see this orange one as well. I don't know what game that's supposed to represent, but alas, I think it's just I don't know what's going on with that, but I think we just be able to purchase multiple cabinets, and that's pretty cool. Oh yeah, and I think I also forgot to mention, Miss Pac-Man got, like, a new design. Miss Pac-Man got herself a new design.
Spend them to customize your arcade.
So yeah, you see her design over there. Every single Pac-Man family member is a part of it. Probably except for Puka, but I think Puka was more Dig Dug at this point. So yeah, we have all 4 ghosts, the Galaxians. So yeah, I think that's Miss Pac-Man anyway. They might confirm that's someone else, but I think that's probably Mrs. just disguised for copyright.
Release your Pac passion in the Museum Plus. Pac-Man Museum Plus.
Yes, I'm definitely purchasing this thing on Steam once it gets released. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. So yeah. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say about Museum. And oh god, what the hell? Is this thing... Sorry for technical difficulties. I just need to... Okay, sorry guys, but my mouse doesn't seem to work, but I could just... Okay. Sorry guys, my mouse seems to be acting up right now. It's kind of quite buggy. I think I'll probably do something. I'll probably just say that I am pretty hyped for this game, honestly, because the game really does seem like a tribute to Pac-Man, which compared to the soulless shilling, the soulless stuff that Namco has been doing and chills of the series just encouraging the practice, now that the main chill, which was Namco Kid, is out of the picture, they have to realize that, hey, we have to now actually please the fans instead of pandering. So there we go, my mouse works. So now we have to actually try, and now I don't know what this is supposed to be in development, but I have two theories. One, Namco Kid left the internet, so thus Namco realized, oh wait, now we can't pander to a fanboy, so now we have to try. Or second, in the more better option, this game was developed during COVID, and only now they're revealing it. A lot of this stuff also seems to be hinting at like a Pac-Man World remake as well, because
You can use your coin.
this model does look very similar to the one that they did in DJ Mix. I know Newman already mentioned a lot of this stuff, but it's something I've noticed as well, but alas, this is all I have to really say. As for the collection itself, I think it's pretty good. One thing I hope the collection does is DLC, and in fact I actually pulled up the little Photoshop list of games that I would like to see added onto the collection. First is what I consider the essentials, games I feel like would fit in perfectly, no compromises have to be made, and it would just be perfect all around. Second is good but not likely, just games that would be awesome on the collection and feel like essentials but are in kind of a legal area all their own. And third is other, which basically concerns all the other stuff. First is essentials, and for essentials we have Pac-Man 2. Pac-Man 2 is the kind of game that really deserves to be on the collection. It's barely got any re-releases, and it generally kind of needs some. I know Ryan Silverman once in like a Discord server that Pac-Man 2 is probably being saved for Nintendo Switch Online, but I don't think that would be more beneficial to like Xbox, PC, and PlayStation owners. And there probably is a better way of, and there's probably like better ways of, and I think the game deserves better preservation than Nintendo Switch Online. Even I don't think Namco has put anything on Nintendo Switch Online. I think maybe they have some of their NES arcade games, but I don't think they have put anything on Nintendo Switch Online. In fact, the Namco game, the Namco NES collections that came out probably contradict that actually. So, yeah, Pac-Man 2 kind of deserves to be on the collection. Sure, Miss Pac-Man's on it, but then they could probably use the Genesis version. Sure, the Genesis version is inferior, but it could at least be used to avoid copyright scandals. But hey, that's pretty much all I have to say on Pac-Man 2. Pac-Man Fever. Pac-Man Fever is the kind of game I feel will work perfectly on this with online multiplayer. The fact that this is a party game is pretty good. And the game is also pretty easy to emulate, so it's all you need to do on Dolphin is just to register controller inputs, nothing more, nothing less. So it'll be pretty easy to get add to the compilation. Probably something crossover ways will also help. Pac-Man Pinball Advance. I mostly put this as it's probably gonna be a perfect tribute to the pinball side of Pac-Man, because there's been a shocking amount of Pac-Man pinball games. For example, there's been the Java Pac-Man pinball games, Baby Pac-Man, and Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. I think this is probably the most likely they ever want to represent Pac-Man's pinball, because I mean, this is the easiest to emulate, and I don't think they'll give a shit about like making an engine entirely for just a few pinball games. But who knows? Pac-Man Versus. This game, like, desperately needs to be on the collection. It's on Namco Museum Switch, but that was only on Switch, and it doesn't have online. So I think giving Pac-Man Versus the online treatment would really benefit it, considering this game really deserves online. And it would work very well with its asymmetric feel. It would make the game a lot more secretive as well, so I think that would be an excellent addition. Championship Edition DX. I mean, they included the Road to Championship Edition, so DX isn't that far off. I hope if they decide to do DX, they'll probably also do the content transfer thing, but I'm not concerned about content transfer as much because DX is an awesome game, and thus it would probably be fun replaying it. Still, I think Pac-Man Championship Edition DX Plus is probably one of those games I feel like is just missing. Pac-Man Party, another game I feel like is missing because party game and online, that would be extra fun, you know? That would probably be worthy of DLC on its own. In fact, quite a few of these would be worthy of DLC on their own. In fact, I think all of them actually, except for probably Pinball Advance. But still, this is one of the best values since you practically got everything, and you got like a full campaign and stuff. You basically got everything this game, and you even got a few arcade classics, which I don't know what they would do if they ever decided to put Pac-Man Party in this collection, but Yeah. The only trouble I could see is probably putting the motion controls in, but even I don't see it as that hard to add it in. Now, finally, we have Pac-Man Tilt. I mean, if we're putting sub-games in there, this is probably the sub-game that would most likely want to be in there. Since Pac-Man Tilt is pretty easy to do, like, I think you would probably use the left analog stick and D-pad for moving, buttons for jumping, and for the tilt, I'll probably just say using the right analog stick would probably be the solution. That's probably what I would assume they would do if they ever decided to put this game in the collection, but yeah. This could be a second opportunity for Pac-Man Tilt to rise, because the only other time this game was released was on just some random 3DS compilation. Now we get to good but not likely. Starting off with Miss Pac-Man. It was a little part of the original museum, and the only game to be on the museum but not the Museum Plus, mostly due to legal reasons. In fact, I think all of these games suffer from legal issues except for Pac-Pix and maybe Pac-in-Time Game Boy, maybe also Pac-Man Adventures in Time and All-Stars, but still. Miss Pac-Man's essential. We'll probably do it as DLC, but alas, I don't know if that's going to be the guarantee. Pac-Man Plus is a similar. Pac-Man Plus and Miss Pac-Man Plus are a similar scenario. They're somewhat important to the history of Pac-Man, but they aren't really all that accessible, and legality is probably going to get in the way of them, but yeah. Junior Pac-Man's pretty much the same situation. Another game that's iconic to the series, and one that most people think of when they think of Pac-Man, more so than Super and Pac-Attack, actually. At least for the most part. Of course, Junior Pac-Man also has his own legal troubles, and that game hasn't seen re-release at all, so that feels even more unlikely. Even less likely is Professor Pac-Man, which is just an educational tool for Pac-Man. So, educational game, legal, that's not likely. Pac-in-Time Game Boy. I would put this with the others, but this Pac-in-Time Game Boy is its own separate game. Problem with Pac-in-Time Game Boy, though, is the fact that it's based off Fury of the Furballs on the Amiga, which means that Pac-in-Time would, I don't know what legal loopholes they would probably have to do to get Pac-in-Time Game Boy on this thing. I think maybe it might be built into the collection, who knows. But Pac-in-Time on Game Boy just feels equally as important as ever. It's equally as important as the console version, I feel. Adventures in Time, this is another game that I feel except for some legal stuff because it was developed by Asylum, and this game is only available on PCs, so I don't know if if Namco even owns this game. Hasbro published it. Namco doesn't have any knowledge on the box and the game itself. It's just Hasbro and Asylum. Same thing goes for Pac-Man All-Stars as well. This game kind of deserves its own re-release for also being another multiplayer-centric game, which would bolster the online, but alas, another uncommon one. Finally, we have Pac-Pix, and Pac-Pix is another ordeal where how would you implement the touchscreen on this? Especially on Xbox systems. Probably they assume they will probably like how the PS TV did PS Vita touchscreen and just use the right analog stick, but that would be a little clunky, especially for this game, but who knows, they'll probably get it working somehow, but I don't see it. Now for these are other games that I feel like would be perfect on this, but alas, I don't know they really would. Pac-Attack PS1. My preferred version of Pac-Attack by a long shot, and one which I feel like deserves the re-release treatment. It's gotten a few re-releases, but none in any recent compilations, so I think that would be perfect. Pac-Roll DS contains the most amount of content. Sure, the touchscreen might cause some issues, but I think it would probably be worth it just to give this game a little bit of a shot, putting this on the compilation. Pac-Man Championship Edition NES. I don't know if Namco wants to drive away sales for their NES compilations, but this would be perfect on the Pac-Man Museum Plus. I mean, it's just an NES ROM. You already have the hardware to make it possible. You don't even have to do anything really all that new. You just have to put this ROM in the collection. And honestly, it's kind of a missed opportunity that they didn't. Finally, you see all these logos. Those are essentially just the home. That's what represents the home ports. I mean, Namco has been loving to re-release like Genesis and NES and SNES Pac-Man games. They've already ported like the NES version of Pac-Man to lots of bootleg machines. They ported the Genesis version of like Pac-Mania a few times. The PC Engine version of Pac-Man would be very fun, interesting to go through, and the Amiga version of Pac-Mania would be fun. But who knows? I think it would be cool for them to have console ports, but it's far from essential, and I don't expect them in there. But it would be cool regardless if they decide to add in a few of those ports. And that's what I'll basically suggest with the collection. I didn't include the World Trilogy or any of the Ghostly Adventures games. I think those would likely get their own remasters. That or Namco would probably want to bury Ghostly Adventures to the grave. Which is also why I didn't include Pac-Man Dash on there, because that's another Pac-Man mobile game I feel is really great. But alas, since they want to bury Ghostly Adventures, guess we can't. The same thing goes for Monsters as well. I wanted to put it on this list, but I don't think you could really do it in an offline format. I mean, I could see how it would work on the Switch. I mean, Arcanine vs. Space Invaders worked on the Switch and PS4 before, so it's not impossible to bring a mobile game on there. In fact, 256 was also a mobile game, but Monsters, that just seems very unlikely. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on Pac-Man Museum Plus. I hope y'all enjoyed what's been going on with this, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye!